I wanted to talk about a couple teams who I look at that I can say their stock is trending up, and then also a few teams in which I think their stock is trending down. And one team that I feel stock is trending up, don't know if necessarily they're going to be making the playoffs, but I do think they're going to have a stronger year than they had last year, is going to be the Houston Rockets. I think this is a team with Alperen Şengün, also Jalen Green, and you also have a strong core with Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr., Amin Thompson, Reed Shepard from Kentucky, who they drafted at number 3, I believe, is going to be a strong piece for this young core. And I do think that you have the coach that's able to put it all together in Ime Udoka. He's a hard-nosed coach, but also a young guy that can understand what players of today are going through. I do believe that there are 2 Texas teams in the San Antonio Spurs and the Houston Rockets that are going to be 2 teams to watch out for, but it does seem to me that San Antonio just needs a few more pieces before we look at them going to the playoffs and making noise. We already know about Dallas. Dallas was in the NBA Finals last year, but when you're talking about a young group that's not named the Minnesota Timberwolves and not named the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 2 championship competitive teams now, the Houston Rockets do seem to be that team that is on the right path. Now, you're going to have to wonder, do they ultimately make a trade? Do they ultimately let go of some of these young guys to bring in a star? There were rumors that they wanted to do so in order to acquire Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. That ultimately didn't happen. And then there was a couple years ago that there was a rumor that they were interested in bringing back James Harden. I feel like they did the right thing by not bringing him back, because I think that would have just hurt the development of your young guys. I think Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green are your 2 cornerstones, but the young core in which you have, a young core in which we've seen a lot of teams now do in terms of formula, getting young guys, having them grow, and when the time is right, you will see the results, a la the Boston Celtics. We're also seeing that in the Orlando Magic. We've seen that in the Oklahoma City Thunder. I really do feel like the stock is rising with the Houston Rockets. I just named them. The Orlando Magic are going to be a team this year that I feel like is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I do not know as of yet, because we haven't played any basketball yet, if they're going to be a top 3 seed. It feels like the East has gotten so much better this offseason with names such as Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers. You still have Dame and Giannis in Milwaukee, and now you have the New York Knicks acquiring Mikal Bridges when you thought Mikal Bridges was not going to be available in any sort of trade talks from the Brooklyn Nets. He's now with his brethren in New York with the Knicks, donning a Knicks uniform this time with his Villanova Wildcat friends, and with Jalen Brunson as well as Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. It feels like the Orlando Magic, a team in which people thought they would make the playoffs via the play-in, surprised a lot of individuals, and they were a 5 seed and an 18-point lead second half away from going to the second round and facing the Boston Celtics. That didn't end up manifesting because they ended up losing that 18-point lead to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I do feel like they learned a lot. I do feel like Paolo Banchero is hungry. We saw Franz Wagner. He didn't have the Game 7 in which he wanted. I think that this is going to be a guy that's going to have a bounce-back year. He understands that he is the second best player on this team, and he is going to be an individual that is going to show the rest of the league how much better he's gotten. I don't think anybody's sleeping on the Orlando Magic. If anything, I think people aren't giving them enough respect for what they did last year and what they are fixing to do coming into this year. Top 3 seed, like I said, I don't think so yet. Paolo Banchero does believe that they can be that, but I do believe that they could be one of those top 4 or top 5 seeds within the Eastern Conference that can make serious noise and probably make the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs this year. The final team that I think stock is trending up, they won the championship last year, and it's the Boston Celtics. How mad is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? How mad are they? That's going to be the question we're going to ask all year. But without a doubt, this looks like this is the best team in the entire NBA. How do you have a foursome like Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, and Holiday all on one team? How was Brad Stevens and company able to work all of that out? I think you do have maybe 2-3 more years of seeing this team be amongst the top teams, not only in the NBA, but probably nabbing the first seed once again in the Eastern Conference. Can they repeat? We haven't seen a repeat champion in quite some time. I believe that the Golden State Warriors were the last repeat champions that we've had in the NBA. This team now comes the closest, and it just seems to me that Jason Tatum did not like the fact that he did not play significant minutes in the USA's gold medal run in Paris, and it also feels to me that Jaylen Brown is not too happy that he wasn't called to be a part of Team USA this year, but certainly he'll be a part of that team come 2028. At least we all think and hope he'll be a part of that team. But if those guys are going to play with that anger and that style of rage and are able to put that onto the basketball court, it may scream trouble for the entire NBA, not solely the Eastern Conference. But as much as we want to talk about teams trending up, there also are a few teams that are trending down, in my opinion. One of them being the Denver Nuggets. I don't think this is going to be a team that's going to miss the playoffs. I don't think that they're not a top 5 seed within the Western Conference. But I do feel like the fear of the Denver Nuggets is probably not there as much as it was when they were making their playoff as well as their championship runs. I believe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope also said in an interview that the Lakers should have beat Denver in the first round of the playoffs. They had no more legs left. They were absolutely tired. But it's a team that does know how to win. Here's a now troubling thing that at least you're reading on social media. There may be trouble in paradise in terms of head coach Michael Malone and the front office not seeing eye to eye. Now, there hasn't been anything to refute that yet, but if that is the case, how is that going to affect Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and the Denver Nuggets moving forward? This is also a team that has lost probably 3 of their best defensive players over the last 2 or 3 years. You lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to the Orlando Magic. You also have Bruce Brown, I believe, is now in Toronto. You also lost Jeff Green, who I felt was a big key reason for why they won the championship. He's now with the Houston Rockets, almost taking a Udonis Haslem role with that young team. I understand you believe in Peyton Washington, and you also believe in Christian Brown, but those are going to be 2 guys that are still young and haven't been in those situations, or at least asked to be in those situations. It is a next man up mentality in the NBA, quite like it is here in Jacksonville when you look at the NFL. But is this going to be a Denver Nuggets team that's going to be able to do enough and rely heavily on defense when you have Nikola Jokic doing so much on the offensive side of the ball, as well as Jamal Murray? Is this going to be a team that's going to have enough for when they go to the playoffs and the game really slows down to make another championship run? And as of right now, I don't believe that they do. Another team that has championship aspirations, but they're a little bit on the older side, and for that reason, my stock is trending down on them, is the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, I don't know how much more of his game he has really gotten better at. Maybe his jump shot is increased, but going 1-on-5, going downhill the way that he does, it really feels like a lot of teams have really gotten fixed towards that and are learning really how to stop it. The Miami Heat, a team that just seemed to have the secret formula and how to slow Giannis down. Damian Lillard's getting older. It doesn't feel like Damian Lillard really likes the city of Milwaukee. Not saying he doesn't like the team, but the city of Milwaukee, it seemed like it affected him greatly. He also said that he was going through things in his personal life, and it made it hard for him to sometimes play the game of basketball. How much of this now is the Milwaukee Bucks team over the hill on? You have Doc Rivers there as your head coach, and he did an amazing job the second half of the year with the Milwaukee Bucks. But is this a team now that is going to be in the mix to win an NBA championship, with the East being so much better? You have the Indiana Pacers. We talked about the Boston Celtics. You have the Philadelphia 76ers. It's going to be more of a race towards the top than it is towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Again, they're a lot like the Denver Nuggets. This isn't a team that's going to be looking on the outside in terms of making the NBA playoffs. However, it's going to be hard for them to probably get to the NBA championship, and now you're going to have to wonder, are they going to have to make any moves with them being an older team. The final team, I know we call them the little brothers from where I'm from in Los Angeles, but it really does seem to me that the Paul George move from Los Angeles to Philadelphia is going to hurt them, and that is the LA Clippers. They're moving into a new arena. You do have James Harden. You also have Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard has missed a significant amount of games while being in a Clipper uniform. You remember 2019, he was the darling of free agency. There was an earthquake in LA, and then Kawhi Leonard shakes the entire NBA world with his decision to go to the Los Angeles Lakers and brings Paul George along with him. But it never really panned out the way that we thought in which it was going to pan out for the LA Clippers. Now, you do have a great coach in Tyronn Lue. This is a team that won 51 games the season prior. But I do not believe if you have a guy such as Kawhi Leonard sitting out as many games as he is, that the Los Angeles Clippers, with James Harden at the helm and being your second guy at this point, is really going to do enough or be enough for you to stay at around the 50-win area and be looked at in the mix to at least maybe go to a second round, maybe even the Western Conference Finals, depending on how things shake out. This is going to be a huge year for Kawhi Leonard personally. Can he play over 65 games? Can we get him at 70 games this year? I don't know, and I don't think people are looking at him to be one of the top 10 players in the NBA. That may have passed. But if he did decide to leave Team USA to finish up healing and be ready for the Los Angeles Clippers this season, it does seem to me that Tyronn Lue probably believes that this Clippers team has a shot. However, with Paul George now leaving, you do lose a major key piece offensively to where when Kawhi Leonard wasn't there, Paul George was a nice insurance policy. Now you're going to be looking at a guy like James Harden to be that insurance policy, and I don't know how far he can take you because he gave so much miles of his body to the Houston Rockets, and it really didn't pan out even with the Philadelphia 76ers, which was a great spot for him, in my opinion, in which I thought this is now make or break for the LA Clippers, being in a new arena, having a new team, new logo. What are they going to be able to do? It certainly will be interesting to see. This is just going to have to be a wait and see moment with the stock trending down for the LA Clippers.